2022 has been a really good year for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books. So today I thought it would be a good idea to rank the best TMNT comic books that was given this year. And before we do get started, please leave a comment in the comment section below. What's your favourite comic this year? Okay, so to start this list off, I'd have to give it to the TMNT The Armageddon game opening moves issue number 1. Now, this issue was quite interesting as we got to see Shredder and Kitsune basically team up to go and find out some information about how to stop Rat King and his Terror Trio. Now, in this issue, we got to see Shredder and Kitsune go into Krang's mind and got to see how the Neutrinos, Nova Posse all came together to stop Krang, as well as Shrell maybe having a big part into play with that. Now, this issue was, I would say, definitely had so much potential in showing the storytelling which they could potentially tell for this big event, which was the Armageddon game and stuff like that. And it did intrigue me quite a bit because I was also wondering what could happen next in terms of the other characters which I had to find out weaknesses for. Overall, I'd say that this issue was really amazing for the artwork, the story, and to setting things up for potential things to happen. Next up is The Last Ronin issue number 5. Now, this issue was frustrating, I'd say. Now, I must admit, I do love the artwork in this series. It is amazing and I can't say enough nice things about it. However, for the story, I'd say that there's a lot of problems for it, just because nothing, I'd say, you have any connections to, no emotional attachment, and nothing ever feels very impactful, such as when Mikey dies, Oroku Hiroto dies, or when Oroku Hiroto kills Karai. I have no connections to these characters, really, so it literally had no impact on me, and to see it all come into this issue, I just felt nothing towards any of these characters dying. It really meant nothing for me, really. But other than some really good artwork and sort of a good story and a good conclusion to the story, I'll say that this issue was well worth the wait, despite the many delays this issue had. Okay, next up is the TMNT The Armageddon game opening moves issue number 2. And this issue was rather interesting, I would say, as I must admit, with the artwork from the first issue carried over into this one, it was just amazing. But I do also think that the story that are told in this story definitely set up things for potential things to happen later on in the series. Now, this issue was dealing with Baxter Stockman and Madame Null and how to defeat them, and it was really interesting to see what could potentially happen with their stories and who could actually help take them down, such as Old Hob actually figuring out how to stop Baxter Stockman, which is basically just destroying everything he's built, which is somewhat interesting. Madame Null stuff is interesting, I would say, in terms of bringing back old characters, but other than that, it was okay. But I do think this story definitely did set up a lot of things which I was excited for, but after seeing how the Armageddon game is going, I think it's up for debates if it's actually good or not. But other than that, I absolutely love this issue. Okay, next up is the TMNT The Armageddon game issue number 1. And oh boy, this issue was something to say the very least. Now, I must admit, I was really looking forward to the Armageddon game, just because of how big things were being set up, and also how they were being teased, with Tom Waltz basically showing off some amazing stuff. It got me really hyped to see what was going to happen in this issue, as well as so many things that could potentially happen. And when I saw it, I was really excited for it. It had a big, setup for the next issue. And I mean, I must admit, issue number 2 wasn't that good. It was really disappointing. But this issue it got me so hyped for things to come for this whole event. And I can't complain too much. There was just so many good things about it, I would say. I don't think this is probably one of the best issues for the actual Armageddon game. But I do think that because of my hype for this issue, it definitely did put this issue a lot higher on my list. Okay, next up is the TMNT The Armageddon game issue number 3. Now, while I don't necessarily like issue number 2 just because of how big of a letdown it was in terms of the story, I do think that this story, or this issue, also does have some of the same problems with issue number 2. Now, some of the problems which I did have in issue number 2 was the fact that they were setting up stories that more or less wouldn't really lead to anything. And while this issue did basically take on one of those stories with Mikey and Torb and Zix, and I don't really know how I feel about it, because on the one hand, I don't think the Torb and Zix story was going anywhere and it literally means nothing. However, because of my love for Fast Forward, Torben 6, and oh god, I love Fast Forward so much. Because as I had to play into that realm of Fast Forward episodes, I don't know, I love it so much because of it. It really brings back those old episode feels. I just love it too much to basically say that it's a bad issue. But I do think that the story that they were telling, it literally means nothing. But Torben 6 and Fast Forward vibes, I hate it because of that. Okay, next up is issue 134. Now, in the Armageddon game issue number 2, I was expecting something big to happen with what happened with the clone turtles attacking back to Stockman, and while nothing really happened with that side of things, issue 134 I would definitely have to say that they stepped things up, and they improved things so much, with actually having actual ramifications for the consequence or the actions, and it was just amazing to see Mutant Town going against the Turtles, Jennifer having to fight against all these mutants, Donatello having to go save Angel, and stuff like that. There was like a lot of really good things about this issue which I absolutely loved, just because it was just taking everything to a whole new level. It went from 1 to 11 extremely fast, and I loved that about it. And I would definitely say that this issue definitely got me hyped to see what will happen next within this whole Armageddon game, and it still does because how drastically things took, and I can't wait to see where they do go next. And seeing what happened in this issue was just amazing. Okay, next up is issue 125, and I'll have to say that this issue was the issue that I'd say that definitely changed things for the whole IDW ongoing series, just because I feel like for most people they were not really enjoying things too much. However, I did enjoy things, so to see this big drastic turn and making it feel look like it was written before issue 100, it was amazing. Not to mention we did get to see the punk frogs, which was just very unique, I have to say. Like, I was not expecting those characters, and with how they were written and how they are, very interesting. And they're sort of ones which I would like to see a bit more, but at the same time, I'm not too sure how I feel about them. But then also we did get like another really good, interesting story and somewhat story arc where the punk frogs attacked the Turtles' lair and burnt it down. I just loved like the little throwbacks to like other stories such as the What Goes Around Comes Around story arc. I don't know, I really do like this issue for like those callbacks, and it just gave like a different kind of feel to this issue, as well as like a different kind of feel to the overall main series that I would have to say that definitely did change the series in going in a different direction, which I feel like many people are quite proud of. Okay, next up is the TMNT The Alliance issue number 2. Now, this issue focused on Casey and about him dealing with a lot of problems and then going to have to face the Pearl Dragons with the Punk Frogs, and it was really interesting. Now, The Alliance, I would have to say, is probably one of the best TMNT comic book series we've gotten in quite a while, and for it to focus on Casey was really interesting, as I had to get like a bit more character development on his character, which was just amazing. But to pair this issue up with some really nice artwork, it made this issue absolutely amazing. But I do think that another thing that really helped this issue out for me liking it so much was the fact that at the end that Karai was basically asking Casey to join the Foot Clan, and that got me really excited to see what could potentially be happening, just because if this all does happen with the rest of the issues, we're getting all those other characters such as Angel, Alapex, April, all on board to help Karai out with joining up the Foot Clan and taking on the Rat King. There's like so much potential, and I would have to say that with this big setup and the potential that this could potentially have, it excited me so much, just because like, I don't know, I think like the best way of describing it is just for like, well, this happens, but this could happen, and then this could happen. There's like so many things that could happen, and it has excited me so much. Next up is the TMNT 2022 Annual, and oh boy, I really want to put this as a number 1 spot, but I love this issue so much. Now, this issue was written and drawn by Juniper, and oh boy, his artwork, his writing is just amazing. and with him coming back to do the Alliance issue number 3, oh boy. I've got a feeling that Alliance issue number 3 is definitely going to be a big contender for being one of the best issues for next year. And with a story like this and the artwork, I just can't say enough nice things about it, and it feels though that I'm just going to keep repeating myself by saying all these nice things. I'll definitely say just read it. I mean, I don't really know what to say other than I just love this one so much. We need to have more stories like this. We need to have Junibar back. He has amazing artwork and amazing storytelling. He needs to become one of the new writers for TMNT. He is amazing. Okay, so my favourite comic for this year was the TMNT The Alliance issue number 1. Now this issue focused more on Karai, and we got to see Karai go up against the Clone Turtles, and was really interesting. Now this issue basically focused on Karai basically wanting to redo the Foot Clan and bring it back to its old glory, and it was interesting. And with the way that things are being set up with Karai and the Alliance and the Armageddon game, it was really interesting to see what her character was doing and where things could potentially be going. And I would have to say that with the story focusing on Karai, which you don't really get too many of, it was just a nice change of pace, and was definitely a clear reason why this whole Alliance series is arguably one of the best TMNT comic series we've ever gotten. And I do think that focusing on certain characters who don't get enough attention was just a great idea, and focusing on Karai, who is a fan favourite character who arguably doesn't really get that many stories or anything like that, and getting her own little mini-series, like basically one issue, it was really interesting, and I'm really interested to see where this all just go. And yeah, I can't say enough nice things about it. The artwork was amazing, storytelling was amazing. There's just too many good things to say. But yeah, that's going to be it for this list. I am rather interested to hear what your list is in the comment section below, as this year's been up and down, I would say, in terms of the stories and also what series we have been getting. I also do think it's going to be really interesting to see where everything goes next year, just because of what these stories will be getting, with stories such as the Lost Years, the end to the Armageddon game, the continuation of the Power Rangers and TMNT crossover, as well as the Suggy TMNT crossover. There's so many things which will be happening with the comic books next year, and I'm really excited to see where this will go. But for this year, it's been amazing, and yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. If you do listen, please share, like, subscribe, and all stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.